Cloud computing really facilitates outsourcing business processes. The reason for that is, as I mentioned, multi-tenant architecture. What is multi-tenant? That means that you've got a big system like an Intact with a single database that is literally running 5,000 different businesses on that single platform, and over 50,000 users that are users in those businesses. It also, though, allows us to have a console where we can see all of our outsourcing clients, and my team members who are doing the different business processes can go down and do the work within each one of those companies that we do on a daily basis. If we had to outsource the back office for a client and had to implement an ERP system each time we onboarded a new client and had to host that, it would be so inefficient that it wouldn't be worth doing. And so Intact is really core to our business model. And of course, the cost sharing and the economies of scale that Peyton talked about, the software costs, the IT costs, that's all shared across all of our clients as well. So the cost point is much more advantageous. Another huge benefit of being in the cloud is that when you outsource your finance and accounting, it's never a bright line and it's never a black box where you say, you guys handle that, I don't ever want to see it again. There's a lot of collaboration that has to take place between what my team does and what our clients do. For example, if we enter an accounts payable invoice on behalf of Mark's company, Mark wants to approve that invoice. We don't know if it's a valid vendor payable, and he also wants to decide when it gets paid. And so Mark and his company work inside of Intact, and they do the things that they need to do, and they do what we call their retained functions, the things that they're not outsourcing. And we do what we do, and we do that all within Intact. And so the ability to collaborate is very much facilitated by the fact that we're in the cloud. We've got some clients that are large clients that have 5, 6, 7 different locations across the oil patch or across the United States, and they've got approvers in all those different locations. Many of them might be in the field and have the need to work with an iPad or an iPhone to do those approvals, and they're able to do that within Intact, just as we're able to work within Intact. And then, of course, the on-demand pricing and the rapid deployment of the technology enables us to onboard a client, and it's not a one-time, set it and forget it, here's your implementation, never will change. The ability to buy what you need, and as those businesses grow, to add new functionality, add new users, add new locations. Maybe you're going into a foreign country, now you've got a foreign currency need. We can just turn on those features of the software that those companies need when they need it. So that's a huge advantage. In terms of other advantages of specifically business process outsourcing, one of the big ones, and I've got these in the order that I think really resonate with most of our clients and the prospects that we talk to as they're evaluating our solution. Eliminating distractions is a huge advantage. If we're talking to a startup company or we're talking to a smaller company, let's say under $5 million in revenue, typically they may or may not have a CFO, but a lot of times it's the president, the CEO, or the owner, or all the above, who's going home at night and firing up QuickBooks and entering invoices or approving them and spending all the valuable time that they have that they may want to actually spend with their family doing the accounting for their business. If it's a medium or large-sized company, it is the CFO that we typically deal with. But once again, a strategic CFO really shouldn't be spending his or her time managing the accounting process and the accounting function. They need to be focusing on, how to finance the growth of the company, what's the capital structure, are there acquisitions that the company needs to be doing, and not spend their time, managing a team of accountants. Dealing with turnover, right? I mean, how many of you have had employees in your accounting department, and whether or not they were doing a good job for you, at some point they leave the company, and now you've got to go hire and train another person, potentially paying headhunter fees along the way to do that. And then again, a huge distraction that I see is a CEO or a CFO completely underwater trying to get their financial statements completed because their bank is demanding them, their auditor can't get the audit done, and we've seen some companies, it's now May, that are still trying to complete their December 31st, 2011 audit. I think the folks at Bank of America can probably commiserate with me on that as they're waiting for those borrowing-based covenant reports to come in. That's a huge distraction that no company should really be spending time on. I'm not advancing the slides, am I? Okay. Another one is shared services. The concept of shared services has been around since at least the early 90s, as far as I know. It may have been around even earlier than that. And what that is larger companies recognizing that even within their organization, the operating units are good at operating the company and serving customers or procuring materials, doing whatever it is they need to do. They shouldn't be focusing on running the accounting and back office for their part of the business. And so companies initially created their own captive shared services companies. A lot of times they were actually separate legal entities that were performing that service to the operating units of the company. So I saw that at Shell, I saw that at ExxonMobil, Baker Hughes, Marathon. They all did that. And so there were internal customers there. And what that enabled the shared services divisions to do is focus on what they do best. But what we do is we provide shared services, but we do that as a third-party company and as a vendor. But the benefits are similar. And the services that we provide are, some of them are listed here on this slide. Accounts payable. We outsource the entire accounts payable function for our clients. And that includes not just entering invoices, but actually paying vendors, cutting checks, sending them out, making electronic payments to the vendors, however the client wants to do that. We will do billing and accounts receivable on behalf of our customers as well. So everything from actually generating the invoice and transmitting that over to the customer to collecting the cash, applying that to accounts receivable. Cash management, we don't perform a treasury function for our client, but we do reconcile the bank accounts on a daily basis, and we make sure that all the cash activity is actually accounted for properly. And then, of course, the general ledger and month-end close. These are all services that we provide, and I have separate teams that actually do each one of those. I don't have a single person that one day, they're doing AP and another day they're doing accounts receivable. So I actually am able to provide a segregation of duties that most companies would not be able to afford. So if you were a startup company and you said, I want all the key controls of my accounting department from day one, including segregation of duties, you're probably going to have to hire 4 or 5 people, and you're not going to be able to afford that. The other thing that's a big benefit of shared services is focus. People focus on what they do best. My accounts payable manager, she's been doing accounts payable for decades. She actually worked for Accenture back in the prior life. But she knows how to do accounts payable, and she understands how it works, how to do it well. Whereas my general ledger team has, my guy in the general ledger department actually has a master's in accounting, and he knows how to book journal entries, how to close the books, how to reconcile accounts. And so we put everybody to their highest and best use, which obviously creates efficiencies as well. And because what we do is finance and accounting, that is our front office. One of the things that I heard all the time when I was traveling with that Marathon team was, and I think Accenture was the one that said it, your back office is our front office. And that really summed up the whole reason why it made sense to outsource. Every day, all day long, they were focusing, as Act 2 does, on how do we do this process better? How do we do this process faster and cheaper, both for ourselves and for our clients? And most companies don't spend a lot of time focusing on that if they've got an internal accounting department, unless they're quite a bit larger. And then you get access to more sophisticated ERP technology that we've talked about. Thanks, Peyton. Another benefit of outsourcing your finance and accounting is a much better cost structure. And I put this a few slides back because if you're only looking to outsource because you're trying to save money, you're probably missing a lot of the other benefits. And quite frankly, the cost comes up every time, right? When I talk to a prospect, they want to know how much money it's going to cost them to get our services. But the reality is, those first few slides are much bigger benefits to them. That being said, we always try and do a total cost of ownership analysis for our clients on the accounting function. And if you look in your folder, there's actually three articles in there about total cost of ownership, about the cloud-based technology, so take a look at those articles. But every time we've done that, we've been able to save our clients anywhere from 20 to 30%. If you add up all those costs, kind of like the cost of owning and operating an automobile that Taylor was talking about earlier, you can go on and on and on as you start to add up, what does it cost me not just to own and operate the software, but what does it cost me to own and operate the people and the processes to generate my financial statements. The other thing that happens is when you're growing and your transaction volumes grow and you've got 2 AP clerks, at some point you hit a tipping point where you need more than 2. Well, the only option, unless you hire a temp, is to hire a third one. And so you're making a step change as you're adding headcount in your department. When you work with an outsourced provider like Act 2, we can charge by the transaction so that you're only ever paying for the volumes that you need. And it's my problem to figure out how many people I need to hire. So you're not doing that incremental step change in adding cost. And of course, we as an outsourced provider or any other BPO firm, we're constantly in the business of trying to optimize our cost structure, and the benefits of that are passed on to our clients. Next slide. John, can you get us on to slide 6, which is more timely and accurate reporting.
What you do, Dave?
There we go. Thanks, John. I outsourced that to you. Of course, I get what I pay for, right? So another benefit of business process outsourcing, specifically in the finance and accounting realm, is more timely, more accurate financial reporting. And what everybody wants at the end of the day, if you're a CEO or you're a VP of a division and you're responsible for a P&L, you want a dashboard that tells you how that business is doing at any point in time, so that you can make decisions quickly. So what is it that really ultimately is needed in order to get true real-time reporting? You've got to have real-time transaction processing, right? If you're batching your billing or your receivable collection, or you're batching your vendor invoices, and you're having a bookkeeper come in on every Friday or at the end of the month, well, there's no way you're going to get timely, real-time financial data and information. And so at Act 2, we have service level agreements and targets for how quickly do we actually do our job. So I'll give you some examples of that. All their clients' vendors send their invoices to our office, and we scan those into an electronic queue the moment that we open them in the mail. So we actually set the stopwatch running on every single one of those transactions. And we tell our clients we'll process those and submit them to them for their approval within 48 hours. Now I happen to know, because I'm tracking it, that we're averaging about 14 hours from the time that I open an envelope to the time that our client gets an email saying, please approve this invoice. So that's, on the cost side, that means that their costs are hitting their P&L as quickly as they possibly can so that they get those reports. Cash that comes in the door. We collect cash and we apply it to our customers' accounts receivable. We're depositing that cash in the bank the minute we open it in the mail, because we've got those remote capture machines from the different banks. And we're also booking that into the accounts receivable pretty much simultaneously. So you can pull up your accounts receivable balance and say, what's my AR today in the various aging buckets, and you know that it's no more than say 24 hours old. In terms of closing the books, we target closing the books within 10 business days at the end of the month. And really all of our SLAs we're falling well below those times. We want to make sure we're well within those SLAs. So that's one of the things that enables timely and accurate reporting. Another huge one, and this is really where Intact is extremely helpful as well, is integrating financial and non-financial data. What I see time and time again is if you say, send me your board package or send me your key reports, they're in Excel. No matter what system the company's using, they end up being in Excel, and you ask the question why, and it is because there's data in those Excel spreadsheets that is coming from somewhere else other than the accounting system. So Intact figured out that if we could store that data inside Intact, we could get it onto the same dashboard with the financial information, then that's powerful, because that then enables you to generate those dashboards and those KPIs straight out of your accounting system. And so that's what we do. We train our clients on how to track things like headcount, if revenue per employee is important, or profitability per employee, and any other data. So barrels of water treated, for example, by location or by product line. Those are all non-financial metrics that you can track, and that's one of the big benefits of using a product like Intact.